Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and I am flying solo today, late on this bye week for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and just going to go over a few things here left on the Steelers schedule, but also some little bit of programming notes, even with what's going on around the AFC North this weekend. You've got the Cincinnati Bengals. They have a game against the Carolina Panthers. They're hosting the 2-6 Carolina Panthers at home, looking to bounce back from their loss that dropped them to 4-4 this weekend. So that's one game Sunday at 1:00. You might want to take a look at if you're looking for some things to do. You know, I know some people need to rake their leaves, bag their leaves, get them out to the curb, whatever you need to do. It's fall. It's that time. You get a little bit of a break in the middle of your schedule. And trust me, that's not lost on myself either. It looks like Brian also took a break on his schedule. We got a couple of things to talk about in terms of trades. Chase Claypool getting traded to the Chicago Bears for a second-round pick. And the William Jackson III trade from the Washington Commanders to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pretty much a little bit of a salary dump, disgruntled player, late round pick swap. We'll get more in depth into that stuff at the beginning of next week and how that could impact the Pittsburgh Steelers as we have a little bit more news and notes on some returning players, because we know that the window has been opened to activate some players off of injured reserve, such as reigning defensive player of the year, TJ Watt, DeMonte Casey, and we'll see how all of these different moves pertain to the Steelers and what they can do here in the future. And that future is what I'm going to look at here. Oh, I forgot about the Baltimore Ravens. They host Monday Night Football. They go to New Orleans, the Big Easy, the Caesars Superdome with, I don't know, the other Manning. I don't know his name, Cooper. I do know his name, but it's just, they're funny ads. You know what I mean? I like JB Smoove. He's my dude. You talk about like certain celebrities you'd like to have lunch or dinner with. There's a guy that I think would be just an absolute riot to be around. But anyways, Steelers are going to get the Saints on a short week, and that got me to thinking about how everyone's so down on this team. They're putting dirt over the Pittsburgh Steelers. The season is over. The Steelers didn't necessarily do any kind of fire sale on their talent. Chase Claypool, I think, is a player that just wasn't going to fit into the schemes or how they're going to fix this offense going forward. And the Steelers to date have actually played one of the toughest schedules, if not the toughest schedule in the National Football League thus far. Right now, for being a 2-6 team, they have played, their opponent's record is 36-24. And that's as of right now. Of course, that could change this weekend. We've got to see what the Bengals and what the Ravens do. They have 9 games remaining, 8 of those, of course, against different opponents, 2 games against the Baltimore Ravens, who are the only team right now with a record above 500. So they're the only team that has 5 wins on the rest of the calendar. Everything that's left for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're basically facing teams that are in the same dumps. In fact, 2 other teams with only 2 wins as we head into this weekend. And that would be the Carolina Panthers and Las Vegas Raiders. So let's take a look at where the Steelers have already been to date. We start out with, what is a lucky win, maybe at Cincinnati, tough place to play. Long snapper gets hurt. The Steelers really had this if they had any kind of offensive prowess, right? Mitch Trubisky, a hot, cold, and then hot again in this game. But it's a win, and it's a win within the conference. It's a win within the division. It's pretty big. It's a close game. A Gunnar Olszewski fumble costs the Steelers a 3-point loss at home to the New England Patriots. Short week. We never really anticipated much with the Steelers facing the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. We didn't know who the quarterback was going to be when the schedule was released, et cetera, et cetera. 29-17 doesn't do it justice. There was that wacky hook and ladder fumble touchdown Ruski thingy. This was like a 5-point game at the very end. A little close, and even closer when you talk about another home loss against the New York Jets. Don't forget, folks, there were a lot of people that were complaining about Chase Claypool up to this point. Remember the Jets game, Kenny Pickett throws an interception because Claypool doesn't use his size and gets up for the ball. That factors into a lot of this. And some of the ends were ready to shove him out the door. And then all of a sudden there's folks that are just like, well, why did they trade him? Well, blah, blah, blah. I can't believe they did that. And it's like, come on, man. It's like there's so many people that were being defensive of James Washington, who I'd said a while ago was totally replaceable. His numbers were better than Chase Claypool's were for the most part of this duration. We're talking about some numbers that could be easily replaced, but I'm going to get into that a little later. It's just to highlight what happened in this Jets game and remind some of you that you wanted Chase Claypool gone, so you got your wish. You can't have your cake and eat it too. I do like that pick is now, it's currently ranked. Tankathon does this stuff, so if I'm wrong, I think it's 43. Some others have said 44 in the second. It's 44 overall. Bears pick in the second round. A lot of value for a guy named Chase Claypool. Reminds me a lot of that Martavis Bryant trade with the Raiders. And I'll get into more of that later, but just to continue to review, yeah, you had a loss against the Jets. 4-point game. Probably shouldn't have happened. 38-3 whooping at Buffalo. Who didn't see that coming, right? Didn't see the Tampa victory. They eked this one out. And this might be the way a lot of these games are going to go, especially if the offense can't get to 20. I mean, they were down to the wire at Miami, 6-point loss. There were like no points in the second half between both teams. Eagles laid the smackdown on the Steelers. Candy asses, just to quote The Rock, for those of you who are WWF, WWE fans. So now we're in the bye week, and there's a lot of you jokesters out here who think that, well, Steelers aren't going to lose this week. Yeah, okay. Way to go, Chief. Look at the big brain on you. I like it. Just anything you could do to just be sour, because what? Show me on the doll where the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin and Art Rooney and Matt Canada and Kenny Pickett, just show me where they hurt you. Seriously. Like, I'm in this for the long haul, and I understand this was going to be bumpy. And this could still stink. This could still be bad from this point forward. There's a lot of optimism and a lot of reason based on what I just said with the way that every one of these other teams I'm about to mention have struggled. And we look at and see who are their quarterbacks and everything like that. So let's take a look at some of this. New Orleans Saints, like I said, they got a short week and then had to hit the road to come to Pittsburgh with Andy Dalton as their quarterback. Andy Dalton has become, well, we know who Andy Dalton already is. The Red Rifle, the guy who throws it out of bounds. He's a check down monster right now, and he sucks. He sucks in prime time. So I guarantee you the Ravens are probably going to just come into, I don't know, it's a road game. It's hard to play in that dome, but I don't see it. And they got a tough defense, the Saints do. I'll give them some credit. But as of right now, they're sitting at a 3-5 record. They're not exactly lighting up the switchboard, so to speak. They've had some there are a lot of trials and tribulations. Michael Thomas, that guy's never going to get healthy. Doesn't seem like it. They have a win over the Falcons by 1 point. They lost to the Buccaneers. They lost to the Panthers. They lost to the Vikings. They won in a shootout with Seattle. They lost to the Bengals. The Saints did, this is. And they lost to the Cardinals. 42-34. You can only hope to get 34 points, right? But just goes to show you some of these other defenses aren't doing so hot. And then they were able to blank the Raiders last week, 24-0. So they were at home. They got another second straight home game. But I'm pretty confident that the Steelers can handle business with Andy Dalton. TJ Watt's back. Maybe there's some other things they do defensively. I think TJ Watt alone is a major game changer. He's like a quarterback for the Steelers defense. Again, myself and Flash, check us out Monday. We're going to be talking about this one and several others. Cincinnati Bengals, 4-4. Just like, what is that? Like, okay, they just got smacked Monday night against Cleveland Browns. They do host a home game. It's a short week. It was a division game. Maybe they're licking their wounds. They were feeling pretty good, riding high. 35-17 win over the Falcons, who had nobody left in their secondary. Like, this was just, it was bad football. Then you talk about losing like a marquee player like a TJ Watt. The Bengals now, Joe Burrow, he's good, but he's lost Jamar Chase. And the offensive line around the league, if you listen to anything, watch anything, trying to figure out like what is going on. Where can you find offensive linemen these days that can actually get the job done? The Steelers are far from the only team with a lot of problems. And if you watch that Thursday night football game yesterday and saw the Eagles with the Houston Texans, Texans they were staying competitive, and then the wheels fell off because they're a 1-win team and they couldn't block Javon Hargrave. And of course, it's got to be a primetime game where everybody and their brother finally acknowledges this guy that's been gone from the Steelers for like 3 years. Oh, I can't believe they let him go. They weren't going to pay 3 defensive linemen as their top 5 paid players. They had Stephon Tuitt. In hindsight, yes, it probably would have been awesome if they could have kept Hargrave and not Stephon Tuitt. But Stephon Tuitt was a young player too. And Hargrave wasn't just a nose tackle. I saw somebody mention that somewhere. Oh, they haven't been able to replace the nose tackle position since Javon Hargrave left. And it's like, dude, he didn't just play nose tackle. He was all along the line. He's a 5 technique guy. He could play everywhere. He's playing in a 4-3 right now. He's playing a 3-4 nose tackle and a 3-4 defensive end. And then this like hybrid thing that they do with the nickel package the Steelers do. And he was subbing in for injured Cam Hayward, injured Stephon Tuitt, and got in there. He was a sack master coming out of college, but he was coming out of an FCS school, South Carolina State. So it was like, can he replicate this in the pro level? That's another great pick that, Kevin Colbert and the Steelers don't get credit for. 3rd round find. He might not be with them anymore, but that's just, what are you going to do? You got a $40 million quarterback that's a future Hall of Famer. That sucks a lot of life out of your salary cap. You know what I mean? But it's one of those things. I just wanted to mention, Hargrave dominating there. Career high, I think 3 sacks, 5 over the last 2 games because, just played the Steelers and got to Kenny Pickett. And man, was it to do a meal made out of that by whatever media. That's like this was like their brother for 3-4 years. You know what I mean? This guy, it's football is family. It's a large network. I don't see a whole lot to read into this. It's not like they're whining about Kenny being their leader. I mean, if it was Mitchell Trubisky, you might read into those tea leaves because people were getting upset with him that were, on the same team. I think more or less, Matt Canada's lost the locker room, and we haven't gotten any news about that. So it doesn't seem like a whole lot is going to change there, though I still question what might have changed anyways. But, the Bengals lost to the Steelers and the Cowboys. They lost to the Ravens and the Browns. They've lost 2 games in their division. Their division record is now in the dumps. So the Steelers are going to get them coming off of a bye week, but they get them at home. They get them at home for what I hope isn't flexed. Because I already made plans. I got one of these cheap, non-refundable hotel rooms, right? Because there's no way in hell I want to drive back from Pittsburgh at 1 a.m, whenever this game ends. Hopefully this isn't like a Bengals game where some dude tried to fight me like 5-6 years ago because only like 40,000 people showed up and I was practically walking back to my car in the dark by myself. I was like, where'd this jag come from? That's a whole other story for a whole other time. Trust me, I don't even think there was alcohol involved. I have no idea where this guy came from. It was super cold outside and I just look at him like, he's like dressed like I am right now. It's like, you weren't at the game. It was just like sitting duck for whatever that creep wanted to do. But anyway, that was a tough pill to swallow because the Steelers were on the downswing there. I believe they lost at home to that Bengals squad in particular. And the Bengals will have a chance to maybe get healthy. We'll see if they have Jamar Chase back. If they don't for this one, that's going to help the Steelers. And I think the Steelers can ride some momentum with 2 home games back-to-back. If this game's flexed, that may actually benefit the Steelers as well. Bengals won't get all nice and cozy, snug as a bug in a rug. They'll have to change some of their plans. Steelers going to be in prime time back-to-back, though. They go Monday night right after Turkey Day, right after Thanksgiving. At least it's not a Thursday game. I'm happy about that. Or where you get the consecutive Thursdays. They line some teams up like that, then give them their mini bye, which, I mean, that's kind of cool in a way, and in a whole other way, I mean, it wrecks your schedule. They're going to go Monday to Indianapolis, and the Colts, Sam Ehlinger is now the starter over Matt Ryan because Matt Ryan was just that bad. Who is Sam Ehlinger? I don't know. Not a guy that I saw on my radar as I was talking about quarterbacks the Steelers could be drafting this year. So they might luck out a little bit. He's a 6th round pick, 218th overall. Big yikes, man. I mean, he had completed 17 to 23 passes. That's pretty good, 201 yards, but where's he completing them to? 74%. Yeah, likely running backs and tight ends and whatnot. Excuse me. going solo. You need the occasional beverage to wet your whistle, but we'll see what Ellinger does. He's only played one game so far, and the Colts just lost to the Commanders. This Colts team has, like I said, not been good. They tied the Texans to start the year, lost to Jacksonville, Tennessee twice, and now the Commanders. They have an overtime win against the Denver Broncos. They've actually already beaten the Jaguars again, too. And somehow they pulled out a victory against the Kansas City Chiefs. You talk about how goofy the NFL could be from week to week. But what the hell is that? I don't know. That's absolutely bonkers. So that's a Monday night showdown. The Colts faithful. Yeah, I think they're out on this team so far. If I hadn't showed you already, these are kind of winnable games for the Steelers. I mean, the Bengals scare me. The Saints defense might be a little bit much, but Shaq Leonard still not there for the Colts. That's a big piece. We'll see what the Falcons continue to do too. I mean, you've got the Colts 3-4-1. The Falcons are 4-4, and the Falcons have had quite the unusual schedule. This is another game on the road, so the Steelers are stacking some road games. They eventually are going to come into a swing here where they stay at home towards the end of the season. It's not really perfect. It's one of those weird deals because of the way 17-game schedule lays out now. But 1 o'clock down there, whatever it is, Mercedes-Benz Dome now, not the Georgia Dome anymore. Not going to have to worry about weather. That won't be a factor. And I imagine that's going to be a game with a lot of Steelers fans down south attending. The Falcons have lost to the Saints and Rams. They've lost to the Buccaneers, and they've lost to the Bengals. They had an overtime win last week against the Carolina Panthers, 37-34. Talk about some bad defenses. They've beaten the Cleveland Browns, and they've beaten the San Francisco 49ers at home. So they're doing a little bit better at home. I think are they an exact split here? No, not exact. They did lose one. So they have 3 home victories. They do better than when they are on the road. So it might put up a little bit of a challenge, but if the Steelers can start to gain some momentum heading into this, even if they pick up 2 wins, let's say they even lose to the Bengals, but if they beat the Bengals are going to be down they're going to be 0-4 in the division. They're out. All you got to do is have a better record than them. They're out, Chief. And you can handle your business with the Browns or Ravens, and there's a little bit of glimmer of hope if you could start to stack some wins. That Ravens game is right on deck right after that. Another 1 o'clock Sunday game, but this is at home. This is at Acrisure Stadium. And then you go to the Carolina Panthers. Like I said, Carolina, another team that's struggling. 2-win team. Yeah, so far, 2-6. Same record. The Steelers will then... Oh, and who's going to play quarterback for Carolina? PJ Walker, the old XFL guy, he's doing better than what Mayfield was doing. Mayfield's hurt. Sam Darnold, will he be back in the mix here? I know he wasn't permanently placed on injured reserve. I do believe there's a window for him to come back. Who else is there? Sam Howell. There's a name that we were talking about during the draft process. I mean, you've got an interim coach there in Steve Wilkes. They canned Matt Rule. So does Steve Wilkes feel any obligation to see what Howell has, or has somebody told them don't touch. Do not open until Christmas. Save this for the last game of the year or next year. And then we got to figure out what the quarterback situation is in Carolina. But that game too should be another one with some a Steelers Nation invasion. Christmas Eve game. You get the Steelers to come home, celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. Franco Harris is going to have his jersey retired. May have some throwback jerseys that they're wearing. Emotions are going to be high. This one's nationally televised. It's going to be on NFL Network. NFL Network, not Amazon, not anywhere else. This one's NFL Network. That's they owned this one, and they haven't really done much at all year when it comes to broadcasting exclusively. I think they had one of or maybe it's the one coming up in Germany. I might be mistaken, or that one's on ESPN or ESPN Plus only, I believe. There's all kinds of goofy things happening with all these streaming packages. It gotta drive you bonkers too, because I can't even keep track of it. It's you need a subscription to Prime, you need a subscription to ESPN Plus, you got to have a cable, satellite, or now streaming TV provider. Ugh, it's all over the place. So NFL Network, make sure you mark that on the calendar early so you don't tick off a bunch of your fellow Steelers fans that are friends and family visiting you. You guys are all stuffed from eating whatever you have, ham or turkey or whatever. It's Christmas Eve. Traditionally, coming from my wife's Italian side of the family, we would always have stuffed shells. Wow, those were great. And Andrea, I know you're not listening to this, but if you were, maybe Michael is. They'll tell you. Thank you. That's always good stuff. Always looking forward to it. And the meatballs. But going to have to eat that early. Going to be in Pittsburgh for this one. It's going to be a special occasion against another 2-win team, 2-5, Las Vegas Raiders. Derek Carr. This team's struggling. They did everything that you thought a team was supposed to do in order to compete. That AFC West was supposed to be stacked, brother. It's not. Josh McDaniels he did this before with the Broncos. Remember, he stunk. He was a bum. I don't know. They got Devontae Adams. They made all these different trades, edge rushers, and everybody, and it's just not working out for them. And all these teams are looking to turn it around the same way the Steelers are. This is why I can't just say this is going to be a cakewalk. I haven't seen anything from the Steelers offense, but if that defense could get some short yards or make those splash plays against, what did I just tell you? PJ Walker and Andy Dalton and Derek Carr, and they always fight the Ravens tooth and nail, and the Ravens, like, what's going on with them? Gus Edwards is banged up, and J.K. Dobbins is back to being banged up, and they lost Rashad Bateman for the season. They're a team in flux. They traded for Roquan Smith, but that's because they had nobody else that could tackle. These off-the-ball linebackers, you want to complain about Devin Bush. Patrick Queen wasn't any better. They lost C.J. Mosley. Have been trying to replace him, although I was never much of a Mosley fan. I thought he was really grabby. And the Steelers are going to get Baltimore Ravens again. New Year's Day, 1 o'clock in Baltimore. Tough game, right? This will be a tough one. But I think when you finish out at home against the Cleveland Browns, to be determined, I do think that this game should be a Sunday, 1 o'clock. I guess it depends on what happens with the Ravens and Bengals, but if they're not competing outright for a division title, they're all going to play at the same time. Not going to be on a Sunday night, unless they put them both on a Saturday. Short week. They get to host Deshaun Watson, who's supposed to be playing soon, just around the corner here. They're going with him. It's already been announced. We'll see what he does outdoors in cold weather in AFC North football. And the Browns, I know they beat the Steelers. Still was a crappy game that nobody wanted to win. It's going to be played at home. You don't know what's going to transpire at this point. The Steelers are like a 4 or 5 win team. Are they demoralized at this point? Are the Browns demoralized because they're out of it too? Hard to really calculate, but as you look up and down the entire schedule of what's remaining for the Steelers, it does look like they have an opportunity. There's 9 games, right? What if they went 7-2? Okay. It gets them to 9 and let me see. Am I doing this right? Right. 2 and 6. Yeah, that's right. 9 and 8. The 17 game schedule. I'm sorry. The thinker isn't thinking. I'm not calculating. Everything's been in terms of like 16 games for so long. I'm thinking 8 and 8, 8 and 8. 9 wins could win this division. I think 10. The first to 10, without a doubt, wins the AFC North. I think the Steelers have to win the AFC North, though, to make the playoffs, because losses to like the Jets and the Bills and the Patriots, and especially if the Patriots are competing for a wild card. AFC West, I don't know what's going to go on there. AFC South, there shouldn't be anything really going on there, and the Steelers could have a tiebreaker at least over the Colts, but that could even be the Jaguars right behind the Titans. Texans, I don't think, are going to manage to turn things around and do anything differently. So there's a lot of NFC teams on this, but there's still some AFC North Conference games. It's almost all division games with the exception of the Colts and the Raiders. So maybe they turn this around a little bit. They got the one that's a division win and a conference win against the Bengals. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Forgot about the Dolphins. They have 5 AFC conference losses. This is tiebreaker situations. 9 games in a tiebreaker situation for a wild card. it's going to come down to being really wacky. I'm sorry, I forgot about the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins right now look like a team that's probably going to be right behind the Bills and take that first wild card. You look around everywhere else where they're going to be competing with. Will there be 3 that come out of the AFC East? Will there be somebody that comes out of the AFC West? Will there even be 2 that come out of the AFC North? In order for that to happen, of course, Steelers lose the division, let's say, to the Ravens or the Bengals. I'm not saying it's not that it is going to happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I'm just trying to show you that the glass is half full, folks, and not completely half empty with all of your tears. Just everybody has been said potatoes. Let's see if the Steelers can pull this off. Let's see what Kenny Pickett puts together. Let's see if this offense can just turn around and do some things. We're going to talk about some schemes and some things that could change here in the coming weeks. And maybe if they put some things together and get in a little bit of rhythm against, let's say, inferior opponents, lesser competition, it might gain some confidence, get this ball rolling. And of course, welcome back, TJ Watt. Stay healthy. Let's see what you could do. Let's break the sack record in half a season. Wouldn't that be something? But I think that's just going to make everything else rise. That means there's less bodies to block Cam Hayward, less guys to get on, put a hat on Larry Okeechobee or my boy Alex Highsmith. Let's see it. I want to see it. Here we go, folks. A little bit of a short show because I know you've got the weekend ahead. You're busy. You got to rake those leaves. Got to throw out the pumpkins. They're starting to rot. So that'll do it for myself today. My name's Joe. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we encourage everyone out there, no matter where you're viewing or watching, enjoy the weekend. Be safe. Be good. And we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.